This boy was blessed with the goddess and also blessed with a loving family. When his memories returned at the age of 3, he tried to use high-level magic, but accidentally burned his bed. When he turned 5, he received the blessing of the god of creation, the reincarnator, and killed thousands of monsters in a single day as part of his training. At the same age, he became an SSS-RANK adventurer and entered the academy. Such a genius and powerful MC. As usual, the same as in our other videos, this boy could also use almost all magics, but this time, our main character in this story is different because he has overflowing mana. Not only that, he could also create super high quality potions. By the way, do you know this boy from I was reincarnated as the 7th prince so I can take my time perfecting my magical ability? Well, like him, our boy in this story could also transform himself into a mature one so he can do his thing without getting suspicious. Before I spoil too much of the fun, well, I think I spoiled too much in this intro, but anyway, let's start the story before my idiot boss finds out this spoiler. A child, SSS-RANK, was born, surrounded by his family. He had sparkling white hair and beautiful violet eyes. In this world, they say people born with those characteristics are born blessed with a special power from God. That's right, his mother wished he'd grow up strong and healthy. Looking back, this was Eltid's very first memory in this world after being reincarnated. A few years later, Eltid, who was now a few years older, woke up and was greeted by a maid named Radia. She began unbuttoning his pajamas to help him change his clothes, and that's when it hit Eltid. Who's Radia? This person isn't Japanese, so why does he know her name? And why is he being dressed? He's not at the age where people will need to help him change clothes, Eltid exclaimed in shock, stepping back from her. Radia called out to him in confusion and asked what the matter was. But Eltid wasn't listening to her. He was busy staring at his childlike hands. Right now, is he a child? Also, why does he understand the conversation despite not knowing the language? Did he enter the body of some unknown child? At that moment, a woman's voice spoke in his mind, explaining that the world he reincarnated into exists in another dimension, apart from Earth. Its name is Rubel. Eltid's entire body jolted and he collapsed on the maid's lap. That's right, Eltid, no, Izaki Rui, was a 26-year-old salaryman working at a black company. But just a month later, he was hit by a truck that ran a red light on his way home. He thought he was dead, but someone suddenly slapped him awake. And when he came to, he was in an unknown space with a mysterious, beautiful girl, just the two of them. He touched his reddened cheek, staring at the girl. She was so cute. Wait, no, he has to focus. He questioned her identity and asked where he was. Didn't he just get hit by a truck? The girl straight up told him that he died and that he will reincarnate into a planet existing in another dimension apart from Earth. Rui was dumbfounded. What did she mean by reincarnation? Seriously, that's like something out of a light novel. The girl grabbed his shoulders and hurriedly explained that planet Rubel is medieval-like. It has magic and monsters, but he'll live as a noble with wealth. All right. Did he have any other wishes? He complained that she was going too fast and asked her to explain properly. Well, that's because he wouldn't wake up at all, so there's no time. She pushed him back and trapped him inside a barrier. Now, off he goes. When Rui woke up, he was now lying on his bed. He remembers everything now. By that mysterious girl's power, he was reborn as Eltid Racis Adstrom, the 3-year-old second son of a frontier marquis family. The woman from before was the maid Radia. She must have put him to bed after he collapsed, and she even dressed him. Next time, he'll tell her he'll change on his own. El, short for Eltid, walked over to the nearby mirror and stared at himself. He clearly has memories from his past life, but El's memories are vague. He feels like El's personality is pulling him, but his consciousness is still him. Izaki Rui. Still, this beautiful boy is him. He really did reincarnate, huh? Does that mean that mysterious girl was a god? She did have a divine atmosphere about her. Anyway, this world is like the Middle Ages, right? She did say magic exists here too. That low-key makes him want to try and see if he can pull it off. He extended his hand and yelled out, "Fireball!" But nothing happened. Well, that was embarrassing. That was super chuny. No, but like that girl said, he really did reincarnate so magic should exist. He must be something, right? Maybe he just needs to imagine it more strongly, like burning flames, a blazing fireball being born at his fingertips. However, just as he launched the fireball, the maid Radia came in asking if he was awake. She seemed confused seeing the huge fireball while El cheered in excitement. But oh no! It did work, but now his bed's on fire. He needs a water spell to put it out. Just as he was panicking, Radia held him and used magic to diffuse the fire. The fire's out, though it felt like they got splashed by a huge bucket of water, wetting their clothes. Radia worriedly turned to El to ask if he was hurt or if he had any burns, and El responded that he was fine. Radia finally breathed out a sigh of relief. Right, he needs to change his clothes. She'll prepare a bath right away. El stopped her, claiming that he can do it himself. Besides, she's all wet as well, so she should also change. Once he was left alone in his room, El's eyes shined in excitement. This is amazing. He really used magic. He doesn't understand how fire is born at all, but it worked. He fulfilled every boy and girl's dream. This confirms it. This really is another world. After a while, Radia came back to inform El that his father is calling for him, so he should change quickly. Once he's dressed, he came to his father's study, where everyone was gathered. This is his family. Now that he's remembered, he can see that everyone is unbelievably beautiful. His father, Zeland, was by the bookshelf, reading a book, while his mother, Arnavi, his sister, Seirinze, and his brother Lufend are all sitting on the couch. They're shining too much, so dazzling. His father, Zealand, noticed him and informed him that he just heard from Radia. El immediately felt nervous. His memory is still fuzzy, but the father in his memories was a strict man. Then, will he be scolded for burning the bedding? He flinched when Zeland questioned whether he used magic in his room and stutteringly replied that he did before bowing to apologize for burning the bedding. That's not it though. Zealand actually found it amazing, which confused El. He looked back up to see his father smirking, claiming that he was a genius for being able to use magic without being taught. His siblings overheard him using magic and both exclaimed in amazement. They both rushed to El, hugging and patting his head for doing a great job. They were so proud of him. El was utterly confused, to say the least. First off, nobody was mad, and his mother's even hugging and praising him for what he did. Even though to El they're strangers, being hugged doesn't feel bad. In fact, it feels good. Zealand reminded his wife to calm down as she'll end up crushing El. Hearing that, Arnavi let go of El, apologizing. It's just that she got excited. Then she asked if he was okay. El responded that he was fine, making his mother smile and pat his head, exclaiming about how amazing he was. She knew that he always had a good memory, but now he's even learned magic. Well, they did say that white hair and violet eyes are said to hold special power. That legend might be true. Special power, huh? El wondered if that had something to do with him being reincarnated. Arnavi wondered what kind of magic it was that El used. It was Radia who answered, saying that it was a very large fireball. She even demonstrated how big it was to the two kids who seemed highly interested. And not just magic. El even showed kindness, worrying about her being wet after extinguishing the fire. He really has grown splendidly. Hearing their praises, El beamed in happiness. Maybe it's because this is El's body, but he feels childishly happy. His two older siblings rushed to him. They couldn't get enough of his cuteness. Not just magic, but he learned words quickly as well. Even walking. Little by little, El's memories are becoming clear. Everyone has always been this happy for him, and these people have always been huge doting parents and siblings. He feels sorry for actually being a 26-year-old inside, but still, he was glad that he was reborn into this family. Seirinze held his hands and invited him to the garden, wanting to see his magic. El happily agreed, and his older brother Lufend insisted on coming as well. He held his sister's hand as they ran off to the garden. Watching them was the mysterious girl that sent him to be reincarnated. It seems he finally remembered everything, but he'll have to work a little harder because this world is cruel. 2 years later, Eltid, age 5, is currently undergoing the ritual of baptism. He kneeled before the priest, who chanted a prayer, calling out to God to grant his blessing upon El. In this country, when children turn 5, they go to the church to receive a baptism ceremony, a ritual to be granted a blessing from God. El's head feels all fuzzy. This sensation, it's just like when he was reincarnated. It felt like he was floating endlessly in the water when he saw a bright light from a distance. That light spoke, saying that he received the blessing of the God of creation, Reincarnator. When he woke up, his family was surrounding him, all worried since he wouldn't wake up. Did he lose consciousness for a moment? It seems the baptism has already ended. Zealand explained that it seems to be rare to lose consciousness while being granted a blessing, but his two older siblings experienced the same thing as well. Then, doesn't that mean that it's not so rare anymore? He wonders if the blessing one receives can affect their mind and body. Lufend asked which god gave him a blessing, and El answered that he received the blessing of the god of creation. He probably shouldn't mention the reincarnator part, so he took that out. His older siblings hugged him tightly and showered him with praises. He really is a brother to be proud of. Arnavi had a smile on her face as she informed El that he received a very rare blessing, since it's usually a blessing from the god of water, the god of wind, or from a god of nature. Well, if they put it that way, then everyone here is not normal, are they? His mother and father both received the blessing of the god of magic, his sister the god of the sword, and his brother the god of life. Yep, not rare at all. There must be a lot of people with the same blessing as him. He's sure of it. Now then, it's time to head to the palace. They should hurry a little. Zealand will use teleportation magic. Right, at this time, El didn't realize it at all. That his family, the House of Adstrom, was considered unusual by the general public. When they arrived, El exclaimed in amazement at how big the palace was. His father explained that this is the center of the kingdom of Allard, the royal palace, where the king lives. The country they live in is one of the 3 nations in the continent. It's a respectable, large country with a noble system led by the royal family. His family, the House of Adstrom, holds the title of Border Duke, with a territory near the border. They are tasked with protecting their country from foreign invasion, and today there will be a party at the royal palace for the children of nobles who have received their baptism. Arnavi wondered if there would be a weirdo at the royal palace, but just in case there was, and they tried to talk to him, Zeland advised him to run away immediately. El agreed, laughing. His father's such a worrier. Anyway, they will go around greeting the nobles first. He's nervous, but he practiced his manners a lot yesterday, so he'll be fine. The moment they entered the palace, a guard announced their arrival, and everyone's attention turned to them, making El froze. They're getting a lot of attention, aren't they? Zeland tried to comfort him by saying that he reacted the same when he first came here, and Serenzi offered her hand to calm him down. El took her hand. His brother and sister have come here a few times and are already used to it, so he feels relieved when they're around. He let go of Serenzi's hand and thanked both of them. He feels better now. Even so, there are only high-ranking people here, yet they are getting so much attention. Is it because of their status as the border dukes? Is his family actually famous within the kingdom, or is it because they're too beautiful? El glanced at his father, who remained quiet despite the crowd whispering about them. At that moment, a loud roar silenced everyone. Gathered at the palace today are children who have turned 5, so they should celebrate the new beginning of these children who have been blessed by the great God. It's the king! How amazing! The noisy palace has changed instantly. The king seems so dignified and cool. Well then, El decided to go around and give his greeting as planned. But then, he noticed the king staring at him intently. Why though? He hasn't done anything, has he? So why is he staring at his face so much? Zeland's voice rang inside El's head, reminding him to run away if there's a weirdo. He internally apologized to the king for running away, but he's staring at him so much that it's scary. He glanced back to check if the king was still looking his way, and thank goodness he's not looking anymore. What was that all about anyway? And so, El went for an intense round of greetings. He walked over to his siblings and sat beside his sister. He's so tired. He remembers having to greet all these total strangers back when he was a company employee, like those mandatory company mixers. To make a 5-year-old do such grueling labor, noble life isn't easy either. Thankfully, his mother gave him some water to drink after all that. Just then, he noticed his father talking to a royal palace attendant. Zeland turned to El and informed him that the king had summoned him. El was taken aback. Is it only him that's being called? But why? Anyway, he had no choice but to go with his father to the room where the king was. Zeland clutched his head in frustration and entered the room while calling the king an idiot. The king greeted them with a smile, but calling him an idiot king? That would get him arrested for disrespecting the monarchy in another time. He should be thankful they're brothers. Zeland remained frowning, talking about how grateful he was that this was a country where he could speak his mind to him. El has heard about it, but his father really is brothers with the king. They even look a bit alike. The king turned to El, introducing himself as Vald Ruiz Adlard. El bowed his head and also introduced himself. Zeland spoke up, questioning what his business was. This was El's first social gathering, so why would he call him away in the middle of such an important party? Oh, it was nothing much. Vald was just curious if El was really a boy. El turned confused. Is that why he was staring at him earlier? Hearing Zeland starting to get annoyed, Vald asked him not to get angry. He just asked because El was so beautiful. Anyway, his real reason is that he was curious about El's pure white hair. His hair turned that way because he has so much magical power that the color has drained. He's only heard rumors, but this is the first time he's seen that hair color. Though, it's just a rumor, so he doesn't know if it's true or not. El questioned what Vald was trying to say when Vald spoke again, saying he has never seen purple eyes before. Actually, El's curious too. He understands that this world has a wider variety of people than Earth, but he's the only one in his family with different hair and eyes. Vald leaned down to observe El closer, making him uncomfortable. Thankfully, Zeland got in between them and ordered an attendant to take El back to his family in the Great Hall. Phew, that was a close call. Once the two were left alone, Zeland questioned what Vald was trying to say. Vald asked if he didn't know. It's in the royal family's legends that pure white hair and purple eyes are proof of a saintess sent by God. Wars will end, crops will ripen, and the people will be filled with smiles. Judging by his reaction, he probably knew. Is that why he didn't let El into the capital until he was 5? Because a saintess is just a political pawn? Zeland complained that Vald always hit him where it hurts. Vald chuckled, apologizing. But El was certainly a boy, wasn't he? He was just surprised by how beautiful he was, like a saintess. Zeland agreed. El is indeed a boy, so he is not a saintess. Vald understood, and thought that surely, the legend is just a legend, and El's unique features are just a coincidence. Back at the Great Hall, El was deep in thought while standing next to his family. He was still thinking about how he's the only one who looks this way in his family, but he has vague memories of when he was born, so it's impossible that he's not related to his family by blood. Even so, there must be a reason why he looks different from everyone else. His gaze drifted to a boy surrounded by girls. The boy noticed him and walked over to him. Wait, isn't that the prince? He was so handsome. So dazzling. The prince greeted him, and El warily asked if there was something he needed from him. The prince invited him to chat over there with the ladies, but El turned away, refusing. However, before he could get away, the prince held his hand, wanting to get along as cousins. And then, he dragged him over to the crowd of ladies. El called out to the prince, who asked him to just call him Lucia, and asked him to let go of his hand now. Lucia didn't want to because he knew that El would run away as soon as he let him go. Well, he's not wrong. Ugh, this forceful approach, he's definitely that king's son, and why does he keep on staring at him? Lucia clutched El's hands tightly, complimenting his beauty. His white hair is like snow, and his eyes are as lovely as violets. He's never met anyone so beautiful. El couldn't believe it. What the actual F? Is he being hit on right now? Lucia asked El to tell him more about himself, as he wants to know more about him. El has never experienced anything like this in his past life, and he has no idea what to do. Maybe if he tells him he's a guy, he'll stop. Wait, he doesn't even know if Lucia's mistaken about him or not. Ah. His father's voice is ringing in his head again. He pulled his hand back from Lucia's hold and ran away like his father advised him to do, while apologizing. And so, El's debut in high society came to an end. That night, Lucia informed his father, the king, that he fell in love. Vald got up, excited, and asked to hear about it. What in the sweet home Alabama is this? At the Ardstrom household, El continued to train his magic. He shot an aqua bullet, taking down a bat-like monster. Right now, he's in the so-called Forest of Demons near his home, thanks to his mother's training. Arnavi returned, dragging a bear to check up on him. Today's training ends after he's defeated 1,000 monsters. El could only laugh humorlessly. 800 more to go then. Arnavi's training is outrageous, but he's gotten used to her unreasonable demands. Anyway, monsters appear where magic power dwells, so he should search for a place with denser mana. He tried to sense the magic in the air and was led to a cave full of monsters. Magic is divided into the 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and wind, as well as a neutral category known as non-attribute. To use magic, it seems that imagination is more important than chanting, and if the image is clear enough, he can do almost anything, like turning water bullets into something like a shotgun. He did as he imagined and shot the bat-like monsters dwelling inside the cave. They say if one keeps casting spells without rest and their mana runs dry, they die. But no matter how much he uses, his mana still overflows. Just as the king said, perhaps he really does have more magic power than most. He entered the cave to check the monsters, and came back out after hearing Leifund approaching. Just as Leifund was running towards him, El noticed a stone by his feet, which he ended up tripping on. He fell face flat on the ground. El ran to check on him and Leifund sat up laughing. It was just a small scrape. Still, El asked to see it. It was indeed just a light scratch. In that case, he just needs to imagine the wound closing to heal him. Leifund exclaimed in amazement, asking when did El begin using healing magic. His scratch healed immediately. Nothing hurts at all. He's so amazing. Suddenly, Sirenzi appeared, hugging El from behind. He really is a genius. Healing magic is difficult, you know? Leifund nodded in agreement. Even they only learned it after they were much older than him. And he's improved so quickly with other spells too. He's truly incredible. El seemed to love their compliments, claiming that it was all thanks to Arnavi. After the training, Arnavi and Radia would always cook meals using the monsters they defeat. Disassembling monsters is difficult, so Arnavi handles all of it. She looked hella scary though, with all that blood on her cheek. Well anyway, the food's done cooking. They can dig in now. They all look so delicious. El stabbed a piece of meat and tasted it. The meat is meltingly tender and juicy. It's so good. Right after his memories resurfaced, he was anxious about living in another world. But here, there are so many delicious foods that Earth doesn't have. And besides, he's surrounded by a kind family. So how could he not enjoy his days? Arnavi smiled, praising El for working hard again today on his training. The meat she served is actually from the monster he defeated, and she set aside the tastiest part on his plate. Leifund also praised El for using healing magic for the first time. Zealand seemed intrigued, and Arnavi would like to hear more details. Really, El wished these moments could last forever. After the meal, he stood up, ready to go back to his room as he was already full. But before he could leave, Zealand informed him that the materials he wanted had arrived and told him to come to his study later to fetch them. And so, he visited his father's study and thanked him after receiving the materials he asked for before heading to the kitchen. Recently, there's something he's gotten really into. the true charm of another world, making potions and magic medicine. It all started when he found instructions in Zealand's study. Alright, he'll be doing it again today. He placed the leaves and some liquid in the pot, heating up the stove, and used magic while continuously stirring it. And done. He made a potion, a magic medicine for treating injuries. At first, he failed, but now he can make them cleanly. When he succeeded for the first time, everyone was so surprised. Incidentally, that first potion is still displayed in Zealand's study. Anyway, he'll store today's batch in an item box, a pseudo-space storage. Still, he might have made too many. What should he do with all these? Just then, Radia came into the kitchen and was surprised to see him there, so she asked if he needed something. It was nothing, he was just using the stove, but he'll clean it up now. Radia offered to help him, but Elle insisted that he could do it himself. She must have come here for something anyway, right? That's right, it's to prepare the delivery of monster parts. Seeing Elle's confused expression, Radia explained that the leftover materials from cooking monsters are always delivered to the guild in the capital. Oh right, this world has guilds. The guild's main role is mediating requests between clients, but they also trade in materials, so they might buy his potions as well. Plus, he'd like to do something adventurer-like too. For example, taking requests to defeat monsters. After he finished cleaning up, he bid Radia good night and went to sleep. Tomorrow, he'll go to the guild. The next day, Elle stood in his room, deep in thought. He's worried that a 5-year-old going alone to the guild would just get turned away. In that case, he'll need to look more grown up. Alright, time to try a new spell. He'll strongly imagine himself grown with longer arms and legs and more adult features. He used magic to make him look like an older brother. And oh, in nice clothes too. Yes, it worked perfectly. He stood in front of the mirror to check himself out, but meh. He thought he'd look more manly when grown, but he still looks far too similar to his 5-year-old self. Oh well, this should be enough not to look strange at the guild. Oh right, a hat. He needs to make his hair less noticeable. By the way, the capital is at the base of the royal palace, right? Alright, he'll use teleport. As soon as he left, Lefun knocked on his bedroom door to invite him to play. However, he soon turned confused when he opened the door, only to realize that Elle wasn't anywhere in sight. Meanwhile, Elle arrived at the capital, looking around in amazement. There were all kinds of people. There were humans, and some who looked like beast people. It's so crowded and lively with people. And not just that, there are also so many fun-looking shops catching his eye. He'll look around after visiting the guild. Due to his excitement, he accidentally bumped into a woman. Elle quickly bowed and apologized as he wasn't looking. The woman assured him that it was all right and that he didn't need to worry about it. What a nice person. She asked if he was looking for something while distracted. She can show him around the city a little. Elle replied that he was looking for the guild. In that case, the woman pointed to a nearby building. That's the guild. Then, she waved goodbye. If he needs the guild, they might meet again. Elle waved back, wondering if she's an adventurer too. Elle then entered the guild with thumping heart. How incredible. It's full of strong-looking people. They're carrying swords and staves, and all look so cool. Having your own weapon is really something to admire. Both the city and the guild bustle with life and energy. To be the ruler of such a country, the king must be truly amazing. Suddenly, a woman approached him from behind to ask what brought him to the guild today. Elle exclaimed in shock, so the woman apologized for startling him. He was a little nervous because it's his first time here. The woman introduced herself as Arnett, the receptionist, and led him to the counter. She asked if he'd like to register as an adventurer since the exam is conveniently happening today. Those who accept monster-slaying requests are called adventurers. If he doesn't use the guild, no exam is required, apparently. Still, he decided to take it and took that chance to ask if they also buy potions. They do buy potions, and even appraise them during their exam. In that case, Elle handed her a potion to check, and she handed him a document that contained the exam details. It's starting now, so he should hurry to the site. Once Elle was gone, Arnett went and appraised the potion, but instead ended up exclaiming in shock, "This is serious. They need the guildmaster Belza to see this." At the same time, Elle was leisurely strolling around town as he read the document regarding the guild registration exam. It said to slay monsters in the western forest. He will be graded by the monster's rank and number slain. Also, he should make sure to collect the proof of subjugation and submit it after the exam ends. The time limit is 60 minutes. Injuries cause point deductions, and cheating or attacking others results in disqualification. Elle wondered what proof of subjugation meant. Should he just bring the whole monster back? No. Wait, before that? It seems like he's lost? He thought he followed the map, but there's no one around to ask. What should he do? The receptionist said to hurry to the site as well. Alright, he'll use teleportation magic. It's an unfamiliar place, so the coordinates might be off, but he'll still go for it. Great. He made it to the forest, but the moment he got there, trouble arose. The woman he bumped into earlier in town flew into his arms, crying and begging for help. That's when he noticed the approaching monster, a two-headed chimera. Something dangerous just showed up. The monster began running towards them, but L didn't notice as he was too busy casting physical enhancement and strength boost. He dodged in panic when the monster suddenly went in for an attack, and ran away while carrying the woman. He apologized for carrying her all of a sudden, and she assured him that it was okay. He actually saved her. But before that, behind him, the monster has caught up. L hurriedly cast a barrier to stop the monster's attack. However, they got pushed back, destroying the ground in the process. Fortunately, his barrier was strong and they weren't hurt, but what the hell? It's so scary. Does the guild really make them fight monsters this terrifying in the exam? But the woman was trembling in fear behind him, so he can't show weakness here or she'll end up freaking out. In the training with his mother, Arnevi, he only fought small monsters, so he's not confident he can defeat one like this. But he has to do something. He shot out aqua bullets, but even with that body, the monster avoided the water shots and lunged forward for an attack. You know what? Forget defeating it. He'll hold it off with magic, then escape with the woman behind him using teleportation magic instead. He intently watched the monster's movements, and when it jumped in for an attack, he launched the spell rock shot, trapping the monster in its place. Then, with a wider range spell than before, he'll distract it and escape during the opening. He used wind magic and easily cut off its heads, leaving both of them in shock. Elle exclaimed in confusion. Could it be he actually defeated it? He put his hat back on, thinking that he didn't cast such a powerful spell. Then, could it be a monster with weak defense but high mobility? Well, what matters is that it's over and they're safe. The woman behind him fell to her knees, sighing in relief. Elle rushed to her side to check if she was all right. She was. It's just that, now that she's calmed down, her strength is leaving her body. Still, she's glad that her lifesaver isn't hurt. Elle gave her a smile, claiming that he was just lucky it wasn't that strong of a monster. But they met earlier, right? He recognized her. He's really thankful to her for giving him directions then. She felt embarrassed to meet again like this, though. Anyway, she took the hand he extended and introduced herself as Claire. Elle then introduced himself as just Elle. He can't tell her his full name after all, since he needs to make sure that his identity doesn't get exposed. Claire bowed and thanked him for saving her. Elle assured her that it was nothing, and handed her a potion to treat her wound. She wondered if it really was okay to take it, but at Elle's urging, she drank it, and wow, this potion was incredible. Just one sip, and not only her wounds, but even her fatigue vanished instantly. Could this be a luxury-grade potion? She should pay him for it. Elle assured her that he had plenty, so she didn't need to worry. No way he can say that he made it himself. However, she wasn't backing down, so he just asked for permission to take the monster's head instead. Claire immediately agreed. He's the one who defeated it anyway. With that, Elle placed the head inside his item box. Well then, he'll be going now. However, before he could leave, Claire called out to him to ask if he knew the way back to town. Actually, while she was fighting monsters, she seemed to have gotten lost, and that's when the monster attacked her. Well, as for returning to town, Elle can summon a transfer gate. Claire's eyes widened in shock, but she soon thanked him and went through it. But then, she came back, peeking from the gate to thank Elle for everything. Elle waved his hand to bid goodbye. They should definitely meet again at the guild. Once the gate disappeared, Claire was left stunned. Did Elle just use spatial magic? And without chanting at that. On the other hand, Elle walked around the forest a bit more. He did say they should see each other at the guild, but if he ends up being the only one who fails, that'll be embarrassing. He'd better hunt a bit more, just in case. However, a megaphone suddenly appeared to announce that the guild registration exam will be concluded and to return promptly to the guild. Oh no, it's over already? Guess he'll head back. Back at the guild, Elle stood in line by the counter to show their proof of subjugation. The person before him handed horns, claws, and scales from a C-rank monster, and passed, so he was given permission to head over to the register. Elle watched from behind. So, that's all it takes for proof of subjugation. He didn't bring nearly that much. Will he still pass? Shoot, it's now his turn. The receptionist asked for his proof of subjugation, so he took out the monster's head from his item box and placed it on the counter, leaving the receptionist baffled. The people behind him began whispering amongst themselves, wondering what kind of monster that was, and some even noticed that he just pulled it out of thin air. Oh no, he's done something crazy, hasn't he? Arnett approached the counter to ask if something was wrong, but she soon turned shocked when she recognized Elle. He's the one who brought the potion, isn't he? That's right. He's Elle. Arnett took a deep breath before explaining that the monster he caught is ranked A+. In other words, it's meant for top-tier adventurers. It's not something a beginner like him could defeat alone. Elle tried to defend himself by saying it was weak, but there's absolutely no way that's true. And its habitat is deeper in the forest than the exam grounds. Where did he even defeat it? Elle flinched. Did that mean the teleportation dropped him in the wrong place? If he says that honestly, they might get mad, so he decided to just say that he got lost. But even if he did, Arnett insisted that there's just no way someone could defeat such a monster alone. At that moment, a woman appeared, asking what was going on. She has pointed ears, so she seemed to be an elf. It's the guildmaster Belza, the one rumored to have once been part of a party that shook the continent. Elle watched in awe, while Arnett informed Belza that he was the one who brought the potion. Belza then turned to Elle, who seemed to be the cause of this uproar as well. She'd like to talk privately, so could she borrow some of his time? My bro is sweating as he agreed. How should he put it? Her expressionless pressure is overwhelming. It's terrifying. He's got a bad feeling that he's about to get scolded. Lyle, I just remembered he's only 5 years old. Once they're seated in the back room, Belza suddenly drops 10 gold coins on the table. She'd very much like to purchase his potions, and offered 10 gold coins for each. Elle froze in his seat. He couldn't believe what he just heard. Though he was called into the guildmaster's back room for the appraisal of his homemade potion, he was dumbfounded when he was offered 10 gold coins for each of them. Well, he's never even shopped by himself, so he's not familiar with the currency value here, but he does know that even a single gold coin is worth a lot. Belza smirked, misunderstanding his silence, and offered him 100 gold coins. She's never seen a potion with such high purity, so if possible, she'd like to send some to the guild's research facilities as well. Shoot, he zoned out and she misunderstood him. What is he even supposed to do with that much money? Belza asked if he'd accept the proposal, but seeing him hesitate, she decided to add a little more. That made Elle stand up in shock, quickly accepting her offer before she could suggest a more ridiculous amount. He'll just stop thinking. Yeah, he's just happy to get so much money. Just then, the door to the back room opened, and Arnett entered with a tray of tea for the both of them. Elle thanked her, but she just stared at him suspiciously. It seems like she's wary of him. Belza informed Arnett that they've wrapped things up and ordered for them to move on to the matter of the guild exam. Arnett understood and cleared her throat. But before that, she'd like to know how he managed to bring that monster here. He pulled it out of thin air, didn't he? How'd he do that? Elle explained that he did it with spatial magic and showed it to them, summoning the item box. Belza dropped her tea in shock and stood up with her hand slamming the table. Did he just say spatial magic? But spatial magic has ridiculously high mana costs, and the casting difficulty is insanely high too. And he did it without chanting? Difficulty aside, he did chant, right? No. Actually, what he did was just saying the spell's name. Normally, they chant to the spirits, asking them to grant their power. And then, they'll finally be able to use magic. Like this water ball. That one was a low-level spell, so with training, one can eventually cast it by just saying the name. But high-level spells are different. The so-called spatial magic he used belongs to the highest class, so casting it without incantation is nearly impossible. Wait. Has Elle been totally misunderstanding how magic works all this time? Well, his mother never taught him with words, so he never thought about it logically. But come to think of it, his father never skipped incantations for teleportation magic either. Then, why is he able to cast with only the spell's name? Belza didn't know either. If he ever finds out, she'd like him to tell her as well. Wow, is she perhaps airheaded? Oh well, he'll just think of it as lucky that he can use it. That aside, Belza believes that they'll have to reconsider Elle's guild registration. Elle asked what she meant by that. They're not saying he failed, right? Of course not. He defeated a monster of that level after all. What they meant is the matter with his rank. Initial rank is capped at C. Arnett will report it to the Guild Federation. But for today, he'll need to register as a C-rank adventurer. Well, that's fine. As long as he passes, anything's fine. Then, Arnett led him to a crystal ball. To register his mana on the card, he'll need to place his hand on this device. Elle did as she said, but the device ended up breaking. Oh no, it broke. Clearly shattered, in fact. They did hear that sometimes when the mana is too strong, it can crack. How astonishing. Elle apologized and promised to pay for it. However, he didn't have any money right now, so he'll use the potion reward. Belza assured him not to worry, as it could be their fault too. Besides, replacing just the stone will be enough. Elle tried to protest, so Arnett told him that as long as he is active in the guild, there won't be any problem. Then, she handed him his guild card. Elle took it and happily inspected the card. This is proof that he's an adventurer in this world. Belza offered her hand to congratulate him because from now on, he's part of the adventurers. Elle took her hand and expressed his gratitude. Later that day, Elle, who was now back to his 5-year-old self, nervously entered their estate's gate. He was planning to go home right away, but with everything that happened, it got late. He received part of the potion payment and deposited the rest in the guild bank. He didn't manage to bring out all the potions from the item box, but oh well, he'll think about that another time. More importantly, right now the problem is how to enter the house. If he teleports into his room, that'll be suspicious, so he'll just sneak in through the front door. Elle gulped before entering the house, announcing that he's home. But before he could even finish his sentence, His father greeted him, staring at him with angry eyes. It almost feels like El can see the menacing aura surrounding him. Zelen smiled, asking where he'd been, and that horrified El even more. He looked away and stepped back as he tried to explain that he just went to the forest nearby. Zealand questioned if he went all by himself. Seriously, his father's too scary. There's no way he can cool Zealand, he'll just have to come clean. At that moment, his older siblings came to ask where he went. This is his chance. He exclaimed that he learned to use a new spell, knowing the two will be interested, and just as he thought, the two rushed towards him, asking him to show them. El showed them the spell where he turns himself into an adult, earning a compliment from the two. Behind them, Zelen tried to intervene as he needed to talk with El. However, they weren't listening. Eventually, he gave in and asked El to show him properly as well. Phew. And that's how, on this day, El escaped the scolding for sneaking out. Today, El has come to the royal capital again in his adult form. Last time his father scolded him for sneaking out, but today, he has a solid alibi. He told his siblings that he's sleepy so he's going to take a nap and put a pillow underneath the blanket to act as him. Anyway, he's got money so he'll explore the city a bit before he heads to the guild. Just as he was strolling around the city, he smelled something delicious coming from a stall. The vendor noticed him staring and asked if he wanted some monster roast. El came over and bought one, paying 1 copper coin. It's a good thing he exchanged his gold coins. El was drooling as he watched the meat roasting. No, wait, he shouldn't be focused on just eating meat. Since he's become an adventurer, he'd like to buy his own weapon, but he needs to get home before he gets caught today, so how is he going to search in this big city? Oh, that's right, this vendor seems like they know the city well. El asked the vendor if he knew any good weapon shops in this city, and the vendor asked if he was an adventurer. Wait, did he just call her Miss? El tried to explain that he's a guy, but the vendor wouldn't believe him. It's one thing in his usual form, but even with the growth magic on, he's still getting mistaken. Anyway, the vendor decided to tell him since he's cute. He pointed to an alleyway, saying there's a good dwarf's shop there, but he's pretty hard to deal with. Still, if he's going to buy a weapon in this city, his place is the best. El wondered if he could introduce him, but that's impossible. He should try to find a connection at the guild instead. Then, he handed him the monster roast and added an extra one for free. Pretty privilege at its finest. El took the monster roasts and began eating them. It's no use. He'll just go to the guild today. The vendor watched him, complimenting the way he eats with gusto. Then, he bid him goodbye, hoping he'd come again. El just sighed. That vendor thought he was a girl right to the very end. Once he arrived at the guild, he witnessed an adventurer harassing Claire. He remembered her from the guild exam. He walked over to them and intervened, but the musclehead just scoffed at him, questioning if he's trying to pick a fight with him despite looking that weak. He's a B rank, you know? Suddenly, he removed El's hat and wrapped an arm around his shoulder, mistaking him for a girl. El trembled in frustration, using body augmentation to push him down the floor and shouting that he's a guy. However, El regretted his actions as soon as he took down the guy. He messed up. He was so annoyed that he just acted on impulse. He grabbed his hat and apologized to the crowd. Right, even if this musclehead was completely in the wrong, he definitely went too far. What is he going to do? What if he gets expelled from the guild? As if on cue, Belza came, asking about the commotion. When she saw El in the middle of the crowd again, she ordered him to explain what was going on. But then, Claire intervened and explained that the musclehead was bothering her, so El came and helped her. The crowd surrounding them agreed with Claire and complained about the musclehead being a nuisance for a while now. El breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness the guild members weren't turned off by him. Belza nodded in understanding before patting El's shoulder. Violent acts inside the guild are normally forbidden, but it seems he intervened to mediate, so she'll overlook it. She'll also give the musclehead a stern warning and consider further punishment, so they need not worry. Then, she grabbed the musclehead's shirt, dragging him away into the back room. El stared at the hat in his hand. He's attracted so much attention. Guess he doesn't need to wear his hat anymore. Claire bowed and thanked him for helping her. She's been a lot of trouble for him, hasn't she? El claimed that wasn't true, and he just got annoyed with that musclehead. That's all. Still, if there's anything she can do for her, she hopes he'd let her know. In that case, there is one thing. Has she heard the rumor about the best weapon shop in this city? The one where one can't get in without an introduction? Claire seemed to recognize the shop he was talking about, and asked if he meant the dwarf's shop. That was exactly it. Could she maybe introduce him? Claire apologized as she couldn't do that since she didn't have a connection either, but she heard a rumor that if one has a rare material, the owner would recognize him. A rare material, huh? In that case, El would need to take on a request. He checked the request board and thought of taking on the one where he needs to collect wyvern horns and claws. Just then, Arnett approached him and asked if he came today for a request. El pointed to the request he was thinking of taking and said he was curious about that one. That was an A-rank request, and since he's a provisional C-rank, guild rules say he can't accept it yet. Then, she suggested a C-rank request with a pretty high reward. El read the request. Collecting medicinal herbs, huh? Oh well, he's used to seeing medicinal herbs from making potions, so he's good at this. Plus, He's seen these herbs in the forest near his house, so he can just teleport to find them. He'll take it. It's a shame he couldn't accept the monster subjugation request, but this is fun in its own way. After teleporting to the forest nearby his home, he quickly began collecting the medicinal herbs he needed. This is easy. After all, he researched different kinds of medicinal herbs a ton in his father's study for potion making, so he pretty much knows them all. Though, he's been hearing monsters making a ruckus in the sky for a while now. Guess this is enough for the request. But is there something over there? He'll get closer using teleport and peek from the shadows. L teleported way into the depths of the forest so he wouldn't run into his family. He's kind of intrigued since this is his first time coming in this far, and, shoot, he made eye contact with the wyverns. The wyverns flew towards him, but L easily dealt with them using wind magic. It's probably a wyvern, right? He couldn't accept the request, but he'll get the materials anyway. He stood back up and headed to where the monsters were making a ruckus at, hearing the sound of a waterfall. There he saw a wounded dragon. Thump, thump, his heart's beating nervously at the sight of a dragon. It looked down on him, then turned away to drink some water. Monsters usually attack if one makes eye contact, but does this one not have hostility toward humans? It's injured. The dragon questioned if he wasn't afraid of him. Holy, it just talked. L asked if he was talking, which the dragon answered nonchalantly that he was. Wow. So, there are even talking monsters in this world. The dragon seemed intrigued. Usually, when humans see him, they either scream and run away, or freeze in place and sit down. But L is not afraid. Truthfully, his legs are shaking, but he doesn't seem to notice. The dragon bent his head down and claimed that he had a request for L since he trusts him. L asked what he wanted from him, and the dragon explained that his stomach hurts for some reason and he's unable to move. Could he help him? L exclaimed in confusion. Is he for real right now? Could it be that this dragon doesn't realize he's injured? In any case, L healed him. He was glad that his healing magic worked on a dragon. The dragon happily thanked him. He was in so much pain that he couldn't move, but he saved him. Did he just say for a long time? Just how long has he been in pain? The dragon thought about it. Maybe a few days ago? No, actually a few months ago? He'd be able to move every now and then, but the pain would always come right back. It seems that when he moved, the wound that was starting to heal just opened back up. To not even notice an injury so bad it left him unable to move. Is their sense of scale just that different from a human's? Or is this guy just really dense? Now then, the dragon wanted to give him something as a reward, so he asked what it is that L desires. L was about to say that he didn't need to go that far, but when he saw the scales that fell by the dragon's feet, he asked for them instead. After all, a dragon's scale is a rare material. The dragon seemed hesitant. Is something like a scale really enough? He can grant him anything within his power, you know? For example, a kingdom or two. He could easily give those to him. L immediately refused, warning him not to even dare think about it. Just the scale was fine, so can he pick it up? The dragon commented that L seemed to have no greed. Then, he should at least give him a fresh one. And just like that, the dragon plucked out a scale from his back. Seeing that, L was taken aback. He quickly told the dragon that the one on the ground was perfectly fine. Also, doesn't that hurt? The dragon assured him that it didn't, so he should just take it. L finally agreed to take it, thinking that this dragon must be dull to pain and all sorts of other things. L stared at the shining scale in his hands. It was so beautiful. As the dragon thought, a single scale is not enough. But even if he says that, L wouldn't know what to do with a kingdom. In that case, the dragon offered him a ride on his back. Now, L's a little interested in that. The dragon lifted L up on his head and threw him on his back, advising him to hold on tight. L did as he said and used body reinforcement on himself. With that, the dragon flew upwards, hitting a few branches on the way. This dragon's a bit rough, isn't he? But once they were up in the sky, L couldn't help but watch in awe. He could see the city from above, and the forest they were just in is already so far away. He could even see the royal capital over there. He never knew the royal capital was so big. This is amazing. No, incredible. He can see forever. This is the best gift ever. The dragon smiled. This brings back memories. A long, long time ago, someone else was just as happy as L is now. It seems this dragon has done this for someone before. Anyway, the dragon introduced himself as One, and L did the same. One told L to call him whenever he's in trouble, and he will come rushing to his side no matter where he is because he is his benefactor. L gave him a smile. He's a pretty loyal guy, huh? Well then, he'll be counting on him from now on. One looked down to see the town, and decided to drop off L there. L seemed surprised, but before he could protest, One had already descended on the ground. Shoot. Arnett and Belza were there and saw what just happened. When L noticed them, he tried to play it cool, but the two were already rushing to him in confusion, questioning why he was on a dragon's back. El waved his hands to calm them down and tried to change the topic by saying that there was something he wanted to show the two of them. And so, he showed them the scale he got from Juan and the wyvern he caught when they got back to the guild. Belza seemed bewildered after seeing these. Really, treating him as a C rank was clearly a mistake. He's obviously an S rank. However, this scale, that weaponsmith is going to love this. Could it be? El stood up, asking if she was talking about the dwarf's shop. That's right. If he knows him, then this will be quick. If he's interested in his work, then he should come to the guild next week. El beamed, immediately agreeing, and just like that, he was set to be introduced to the rumored weaponsmith. Meanwhile, at the Adlard castle, Vald held a letter, asking Lucia if he was sure that he wanted to issue this letter, because once this decision is made, it cannot be easily revoked, not even with his authority. Lucia insisted that it's all right. His feelings will never change for all of eternity because he hasn't been able to think of anything else but El ever since the day they met. Well, in that case, Vald will no longer stand in his way. The next day at the house of Adstrom, Arnavi rushed to Zelen's study to inform him that a letter had just arrived from the royal palace. Zelen didn't pay it much mind as he was sure that it was nothing. After all, it's from his idiot brother. However, when they opened the letter, Zelen couldn't hide his shock after realizing that it was a marriage proposal. Just what in the world is that idiot Vald thinking? Meanwhile, in the royal capital, El finally received the sword the weaponsmith forged for him. This weaponsmith shop he had been looking for was tucked away in a back alley of the royal capital. About a week ago, Belza introduced him to this shop, which is rumored to be the best in the capital, and that's how the shopkeeper forged this sword for him. El unsheathed the sword and was amazed by its gleaming blade. Even the grip fits his hand perfectly. The shopkeeper explained that the mithril he used for the blade is what's shining. It's a top-class material, light and durable, and he's embedded the dragon scale El brought into the grip. The shopkeeper seemed satisfied after seeing El's happy expression, so he turned back to get back to work. El ran after the shopkeeper and asked how much the sword was. The shopkeeper responded that he didn't need any money, but El wanted to give him something as thanks for making him a sword this expensive. The shopkeeper still refused. He's seen his share of dragon scales, but that was the first time he's ever handled one with that much magical power. He can take this sword as his thanks for that. Besides, he's taken a liking to El for bringing that thing here, despite looking so frail. If he wants to thank someone, then he can thank Belza for the introduction. El watched the shopkeeper leave before bowing his head to thank him. Calling him frail was a bit much, but he's happy that the shopkeeper acknowledged his strength. After that, El came to the western forest of the Adlard kingdom to try out his new dagger in a real fight, and used body reinforcement on himself. This is his first time handling a real sword, but he's had plenty of swordsmanship lessons. He just has to do as he was trained. The monster he's about to fight seems to have a tough hide. Then he'll start with a feint, and then he slashed it with his sword. Wow, he didn't even put much strength into it. What an incredible sword. He wants to test it out more. When he got back to the guild, Belza stared at the pile of monsters he hunted. It seems he's hunted quite a lot again today. El scratched the back of his head and explained that he was just having so much using his sword. Well, Belza thought that was fine since it helps them to have so many deliveries. Then she asked him if he noticed anything unusual in the western forest, because lately it seems the strength and number of monsters around the royal capital have been increasing. They're investigating it with the state agencies, but they still don't know the cause. El wondered if that was a rare occurrence, and Belza explained that there are always some fluctuations, but it's safe to say that this is above normal levels. If he notices anything, no matter how small, she'd like it if he could let her know. Come to think of it, when he ran into Juan in the forest again a few days ago, he said that monsters have been rampaging in his territory a lot lately. One lives in the forest deep behind his house, but according to Belza, the strange occurrences are only around the royal capital. Could it be that the monster population in the capital grew so large that they're starting to flee towards his house? No, that can't be it. Just then, as El was walking around town, he bumped into someone. He was about to apologize when he realized who it was. It's his father, Zeland. Oh, he is dead. When they got back home, El was immediately called to Zeland's study. His father, with a menacing aura surrounding him, questioned why he was in the royal capital, and in his adult form, no less. He's seen him use growth magic before, so he recognized him at a glance, even in that form. El looked away in nervousness, while Zeland continued talking. He heard about a rumor going around the capital recently. They say there's an absurdly strong newbie adventurer with white hair who shot up to S rank in the blink of an eye. El exclaimed in shock before he quickly covered his mouth in panic. Oh no, he's been caught. Zeland glared at him before standing up and continuing with his story. Apparently this adventurer is a slender boy with beautiful features, and is always seen stylishly wearing a high-quality navy blue coat. That sounds exactly like the El he just saw, didn't it? El stutteringly disagreed, but as if Zeland would believe that. Serenzi and Lafund peeked inside their father's study to see Elle being thoroughly scolded by Zeland. Poor Elle. He's been getting scolded like that for an hour now. He looks so small and pitiful. Serenzi wished she could take his place. And so, Zeland's lecture went on for 2 hours, and he was forbidden from going out alone. Furthermore, as a punishment, he wasn't completely denied dinner, but his favorite dish was left off his plate. Elle was in tears. He was looking forward to those fried horon birds all day. Seeing him all sad, his older siblings secretly placed his favorite dish on his plate, reminding him to not tell their father. Elle happily ate them with his older siblings urging. It was delicious. After being scolded for so long, his brother and sister's kindness really sinks in. On the other hand, Zeland watched them with a smile. After their meal, Zeland called out to Elle, asking if he had a moment. Chills ran over Elle's whole body as he turned around to ask if there was something else Zeland needed to say. Zeland claimed that it was about something completely different. He had something to discuss, so he asked Elle to come to his study. Elle wondered what could be so important that his father was hesitating to talk about it. Well, it didn't take him long to find out. Elle was flabbergasted when he read about the marriage proposal. Zeland clutched his head in frustration. When he was in the capital, he wasn't just looking for Elle. He also went to question Vald about his true intentions. But that idiot brother of his just replied that he and Lucia are both serious. He got on his knees, grabbing Elle's shoulders. He's truly sorry to ask this of him, but he'd like it if he could go with him to the royal palace to give them their answer. Elle's head was spinning. What in the world is going to happen to him now? After arriving at the Adlard castle, Lucia ran to welcome Elle and Sealand. He turned to Elle, expecting him to give his answer regarding the engagement today. That expression, that's the face of someone who doesn't expect rejection. Then, Lucia guided the both of them inside a room, where a bunch of servants greeted them, along with a feast. Hell, this is impossible to refuse. Vald walked over to greet them, and Zeland questioned what this was about. It looks like a wedding celebration already. They're actually here to decline, you know? Vald just winked playfully. You know what they say, start by closing in from the outside. Zeland angrily glared at him, claiming he's gone too far. Meanwhile, Lucia informed Elle that the royal chef has prepared a feast for him today. And as if on cue, the royal chef handed him a plate of steak in the shape of a heart and urged him to eat plenty. After all, he'll be the future princess. Elle flinched as he took the fork. It's getting harder and harder to refuse, but the food is so tasty. Just then, Elle realized something. Did the royal chef just say, princess? Wait a minute, that's right. The royal family has a succession problem. If they knew he was a man, they wouldn't be talking about engagement. Does everyone here think he's a girl? He thought Vald knew, but he's been misunderstood all along. Elle called out everyone's attention and claimed that there seems to be a misunderstanding, but he's actually a man. When he opened his eyes back up, he saw Lucia in a daze, walking out of the room. He called out to him, but Lucia ignored him and kept walking away. Vald watched Lucia walk away before saying that he, of course, knew that. But what's wrong with it? Even if it's between men, he believes that love can take any form. Elle thought that was too much freedom. Anyway, if they were worried about heirs, Vald assured them not to worry, as he'll work hard to give Lucia a little brother. Zeland pushed Elle away from Vald and warned him not to speak nonsense like that in front of a child. Then, he advised Elle to ignore the foolish Vald and to go after Lucia. Once Elle was gone, Zeland turned to Vald to tell him that he and Lucia are free to think as they like, but Elle has no intention of accepting. Besides, it's far too early for Elle to be engaged. He's only 5. Vald claimed that he was too overprotective. For nobles, having fiancés chosen in childhood isn't unusual. That's true, but still, Zeland didn't want that. Vald smirked, continuing. There's also that about the saint being said to be a messenger of God. To have a child with those traits in the family would be beneficial. Zeland couldn't believe him. Does he mean to use Elle for politics? Vald just laughed, thinking it was absolutely fascinating. Zeland turned his back on him and insulted him for being a fool of a king. Vald was speechless, truly. He then walked over to the opposite direction while scratching the back of his head. He honestly did find it interesting, though. At the same time, Elle followed Lucia to the castle's garden. It was so awkward. Is rejecting a confession really this painful? Maybe it would have been easier just to accept, but no. He'd really hate becoming part of that royal family. Lucia suddenly faced him and bowed to apologize. His feelings ran ahead of him and he charged forward without considering Elle. It's truly shameful. Elle panicked and asked him to raise his head. Lucia did so and thanked him. Even now, Elle's beauty hasn't faded from his eyes, but he's come to terms with his feelings. Then he offered his hand. He'd like for them to continue getting along as a friend and as a cousin. Elle seemed surprised that Lucia already carries the dignity of one who will rule. Just a moment ago, he was stunned, yet he quickly got over it. This is the caliber of one to be king. Elle shook his hand, agreeing with Lucia's offer. And just like that, they spent their time talking and laughing together. Somehow, Elle finds this really fun. Now that he thought about it, This is his first friend in this world. However, their conversation was soon interrupted when a maid came to inform Lucia that his tutor had arrived, so it's time to return. Lucia was surprised that it was already this late and agreed to come at once. Being with Elle was just so enjoyable that time just flew by. It was the same for Elle. He wanted to talk with Lucia more, so he asked if he could come to play again. Lucia agreed without hesitation. If it's Elle, then he's always welcome. But he's enrolling in the Royal Academy soon, so he won't be around the castle much. During long breaks, he'll be back at the castle so they could meet then. Elle was left alone in the garden with a disappointed expression. He's bummed that they won't see each other often after finally becoming friends. The next day, Elle twisted and turned in his bed the whole time. He's so bored. He can't go to the guild for a while. And today, his mother's training is off. While his sister and brother said they're studying, he wants to go to school soon too. A fantasy world school sounds so exciting. At that moment, his brother Lafond barged into his room, complaining that he didn't want to take the entrance exam. Elle got down from his bed and asked his brother what was wrong. Lafond complained that he didn't want to study anymore. He hates equations, so he's going to play with Elle instead. Just then, a man suddenly grabbed his shoulders from behind, saying he'll study with him and they'll have fun, making Lafond scream in fear. To him, he's the devil incarnate. The man turned to Elle and apologized. He is Lunar Felmond, his brother and sister's tutor, and he's a man who has very little interest in anything outside of his studies. He's handsome, but he's only focused on books. Lunar told Lifund to try a little harder since he has an entrance exam this year, but Lifund covered his ears. He can't do this anymore. Elle walked over to him and asked permission to study with them. If they all study together, then his brother will be more motivated, right? Lifund was so touched that he hugged Elle tightly. He hates the exam, but he'll do his best. However, Elle flinched in fear when he saw Lunar's excited expression. Lunar believed that Elle is very intelligent and that he'll surely absorb any information quickly. But before that, he needs to get permission from Zeland for the lesson. There are so many things he wants to teach him. Elle was starting to become nervous. Perhaps he may have been too hasty. In this country, one can enter the Royal Academy from the age of 10. It's not compulsory, but it seems all noble children attend. His brother, Lafund, is 10 this year, and his sister, Serinzi, has also started studying for her exam next year. Speaking of which, Lucia is only 6, but he's already going. Is it because he's a prince? Lunar escorted Elle and Lafund back to the classroom where Serinzi was. She got up in excitement and hugged Elle after finding out that he'll be studying with them. Then, she informed Lunar that Elle can already read a book by himself and even do calculations. Lafund agreed, calling Elle a genius. On the other hand, Lunar seemed surprised to hear that. Elle, after regaining the memories of his previous life, have mastered the language of this country. He wanted to read a book, however. When it comes to studying, he wonders how much of his knowledge will be useful. Well then, since his older siblings seem to hold him that highly, Lunar decided to give Elle a problem to solve. He isn't expecting much, so he can just solve as much as he can. Elle read the paper given to him. It's a calculation problem that one would learn in elementary school, but isn't this too difficult to give to a child who's studying for the first time? But well, guess he can solve this easily. The concept of mathematics doesn't change even in another world, it seems. After a while, Lunar walked over to Elle's desk to check how he's been doing, but was surprised to see that Elle had already solved all of the problems. He intentionally included problems at a low-grade level to see what he could do, but to have this talent at this age. Anyway, it's a perfect score. Elle beamed in happiness, while his siblings praised him for doing well. Now, Lunar gave him another problem to solve. It's gotten even more difficult. Is this really a problem for children? Or is it just that he doesn't know, and the academics of this world are at such a high level? Well, he can easily answer this much, so it's fine. Seeing that he got another perfect score, Lafund and Serinza patted his head for being amazing. He's so fired up right now. So when Lunar called out to him, he prepared himself for the next problem, but what came out of Lunar's mouth was something he never expected. Lunar actually suggested that he also take the Royal Academy entrance exam. Elle wondered if he really could take it since he's only 5 years old, but Lunar assured him that it is possible with his recommendation. The exam will be the same for everyone, but with his academic ability, there will be no problems at all. Elle's eyes shone in excitement as he talked about wanting to go. Serinzi insisted on taking the exam as well if both her brothers are taking them together. Lunar gave her a smile, claiming that she'll surely pass as well. The three of them seemed happy that they could all attend the academy together, especially Elle. An academy life with his brother, his sister, and Lucia will definitely be fun. Lunar assured them that they surely will learn many things, and if they all pass, their parents will be very pleased. Oh right, he almost forgot. He needs permission from Zeland for the exam. He got a little excited, but he'll go and ask now. And so, Zeland gave his permission, and it was officially decided that they would take the exam. They studied every day for the exam day. Lifund, who hated studying so much, seemed to be quite encouraged by the fact that they would all be able to get in together. L, on the other hand, is also learning various things from Lunar, but is it just him, or are Lunar's lessons are getting more and more advanced? After the lesson, L ran after Lunar, who asked if he had any questions about today's lesson. That's not it. He actually thinks that the content of the lessons has been difficult lately. Lunar was surprised that he noticed. He's been gradually raising the level of the lessons because L kept solving more and more difficult problems. The content he's teaching now is already at a high school level. L's talent is both frightening and delightful for him. L wondered if the exam was going to be easier, and Lunar assured him that it will, so he should be fine. That was close. L thought he wouldn't be able to keep up with the studies even if he got in, but it was actually Lunar's fault. Lunar grabbed his shoulders and pushed him back inside the classroom to study more until he got into the school. L complained, asking him to go back to normal lessons. And so, the exam was finished without a hitch, and today is the day of the results. Lunar excitedly barged into the classroom with the notices and congratulated the three of them as they all have been accepted to the Royal Academy. The three's eyes widened in shock before happily hugging each other. They're so happy they did it. From now on, the academy life in another world begins. Meanwhile, a woman watched L in a crystal ball, intrigued that he passed the written exam with a perfect score at 5 years old. A beautiful boy, with silver hair and purple eyes. He must be the rumored S-rank adventurer, not to mention, he's an Adstrom. What a nostalgic name. She's really looking forward to meeting him. Chapters end at 10. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you loved this manga. Have a good day.